So I want to welcome you all to the New Deal Mentorship, using vision statements to support ethical and value-based leadership. And this is our poster presentation. And it's by Susan H. Shapiro, myself, and
I'm Kevin A. Peters.
And we're also joined with Jennifer and Tony.
Taryn Conroy.
Arcady Yellman.
Joan Polliner Shapiro.
And Stephen J. Gross. So the poster presentation, we're going to be examining the use of mentorship to support. So this poster presentation is going to examine the use of mentorship. So we're going to support leaders like you to help other leaders become superb like yourselves. We want them to become democratic, ethical leaders or New Deal leaders. And we have 5 vision statements and values that we use to help with mentoring. So we want to have a radically different vision of the mentors that we work with, the mentors that we talk with, that we guide, to support them in our values as leaders of tomorrow, so that they'll be looking at leadership in a different framework.
A little bit about the New Deal. The New Deal was started back in 2004 with the idea of looking at education and educational leadership in a different way. At that time, the accountability era was just coming forward and starting to make a movement. And Dr. Stephen J. Gross and Dr. Joan Polliner Shapiro got together and said, we're not really excited about the direction that educational leadership is going as far as focusing on the accountability movement. There's got to be a different way. So hence the New Deal became to be. The mission really is to create a partnership of inquiry and really focus, like Susie said, focus on values, ethics, and how they interact with leadership. And when we talk about leadership and we talk about mentoring here in a little bit, we're not just talking about building administrators, superintendents, higher education administrators. We're talking about leaders themselves, not the positions, but actual leaders, which could span from in a school system, K-12 system, could be counselors, teachers, school board members, students. So it's very key that when we talk about leaders, we're not talking about positions. We're talking about those that possess leadership abilities. And quite frankly, we believe everyone has the potential for that.
So we have 5 vision statements. And just a quick overview, as you can see on the slide, mentoring is mission-driven and value-based. Mentoring is integrative, it's dynamic, it's inclusive and diverse, and it's focused and it's transcendent.
Why mentorship? Why are we so passionate about mentorship? Really what we want to do and what we started to do is look at mentorship in a different way. Really bring the ethics, the values into mentorship. We all have a different view of mentorship. If we ask 100 people, there's probably 100 different definitions of mentorship. What we're really trying to do is provide, as I said earlier, those leaders with the skills and abilities to take that framework and go back and develop leaders themselves. So really, we're kind of I want to say train the trainer model. We want to work with these mentors, guide these mentors, and have them become mentors, and all of that continue. So we really want to prepare them to go back. Not just to be better leaders, but to also then become mentors for others.
Here are the 5 vision statements, and now we'll go into them more in depth.
The first vision statement has to do really with why we do what we do, and who are we responsible to. New Deal leader looks at kind of not so much what leadership does for us, but what we can do for others. When we look at the conventional leader, we're looking at, how do I get to the next rung in the ladder? Who do I need to impress maybe above me that is going to help me get to where I want to be? The New Deal leader doesn't look at leadership that way. looks at it more from okay, who am I responsible to? And those people are the ones who I need to be working for, caring about, and really supporting.
So we've sort of broken it down a little bit here too, on slide 8. We want to, there's that tension that Kevin was talking about being an accountable leader, but there is that tension between being responsible and being accountable. How do you balance the two in a real world experience? Have a sense of inner responsibility. So you're not just meeting the needs that are written down in your regs. You also want to say, does this correspond to my inner sense of responsibility? And then when we're in challenges, thinking about how we balance those. I mean, that's the thing. You can have as much as you want in terms of your values, but really when the boots hit the ground, how do you handle it? And then looking back and reflecting, how would you handle it in the future? Making sure that you support others in your organization in their inner responsibility, and acknowledge that how that works with all the stakeholders in your organization.
Yeah, one of the things that Susie made a great point is that when we look at the New Deal leader versus the conventional leader, it's really not one or the other. We're really not just always a New Deal leader, and we're just not always a conventional school leader. It's a continuum. Sure, we'd like to live in the New Deal as the New Deal leader, but there are certain circumstances where we have to be conventional school leaders. So, it is a continuum, but where we're looking and where we hope we are as leaders is described in these vision for leadership. And as you see, we'll explain the vision and then tie it directly to the mentoring piece. So the next vision statement for the New Deal visions for leadership is a leader really leads from a community building perspective. So we talk about turbulence and things like that. How do we shield people? If you ever listen to Dr. Gross, you'll hear about his lightning rod. Where are we directing the energy? Are we directing it into our organization, or are we deflecting and directing it away? And really, a New Deal leader understands that concept of when there's difficulty, turbulence in the organization, in the world, in society, in the profession, all of those things. When do I need to shield the organization from the turbulence, and when do I have the opportunity to use that turbulence to grow an organization? So really understanding their place in turbulent situations, and how do we use it to grow, or how do I protect the organization from it?
Yeah, so we really do want to look at the drivers of turbulence. We're talking about positionality, who is feeling that turbulence, who is not feeling that turbulence. As the events cascade, as things get on a roll, you have one issue that rolls into the next. How do you handle it? Is this something that you're going to let other people know how turbulent times are? You can be pulling back and saying, everything's fine. And that takes a lot of practice for a leader to be able to figure out when you want other people to feel the level of turbulence that you're feeling. And is that positive for the organization, or is it negative? And then also looking back and reflecting on it afterwards, and developing a process for understanding and working with that turbulence, and using it sometimes to promote changes that really need to happen in your school or in your community.
So the third vision statement is probably one of the best ones for me, because I find in particularly K-12 education, this is what gets lost. This is what is afraid to be talked about. This is what is afraid to be really brought to the forefront of education, and the impact that social justice and the democracy and really the things that we see not only in our nation, in the world, the social justice and the social equity and all of those pieces, that sometimes it's easy to ignore, it's easy to look over. But a New Deal leader does not do that. They're looking at school improvement, not necessarily from the lens of, do our academic scores get better? Are we seeing less suspensions or less discipline issues? But really, how are we really tackling what's important? And how are we teaching others the importance of some of these concepts that are really affecting and shaping our world?
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to think about is, who are these stakeholders? Who are the members of the community that have this this impact, and how complex are their lives, and how important, how much time can they dedicate it to, how much energy, or is it a carryover from the community? We want to make sure that we're not constantly dealing with embedded practices, saying this is the way we've always done it, even when it doesn't promote equity. So we want to go back, we want to examine things that we really feel are almost ingrained in the organization. We want to make sure that we open up decision-making structures, which is very difficult, but it's something that comes with mentorship. The more experience you have, the more you can find those areas where you can open it up to the community, to different teachers, to students, to anyone who's part of that process. Finding out how to be transparent about the decisions that you make. And sometimes that can be really complicated, especially when you're dealing with, ethics pertaining to confidentiality, and trying to deal with satisfying large groups of people and making sure that, no one feels that they're being, not heard. So you really want to be transparent, but once again, that really needs guidance. And making sure that marginalized groups are part of this process, especially for things that are detrimental to them, that don't work for them, and sharing any scholarship that you find that can help support it. So you're not just talking about yourself, but you're talking about it from a point of view where you have lots of opinions and lots of scholarship that back up what it is you're trying to do in the organization.
The fourth vision statement is really looking at those ethics and keeping them in the context of your vision. And really, when you're looking at pieces, let's just talk about decisions maybe. When you're looking at decisions that are going to maybe impact what Susan was talking about earlier, some marginalized groups that may not be popular, or may not be, the decision that is, well, I'll use the word popular again. Are we operating from a view and a lens of the ethics, particularly the ethic of care, the ethic of justice, the profession, the ethic of, which one am I missing, Susie?
Justice, critique.
Critique, yes, that was the one I'm missing. Thank you very much. So a New Deal leader will look at those pieces and understand and help using the ethics of shaping decisions and shaping approaches to situations where a conventional school leader is just really, focused on, hey, what does the board policy say, or what does this say we have to do, and really following that, not considering other pieces.
And having that vision, the visions of your ethical paradigms, or having the series of ethics already in place, really helps in terms of decision making, so that you're not just sort of responding knee-jerk to everything that comes around. When you can carry it through something like the multiple ethical paradigm, where you're thinking, is this the best interest of the kid? Is this the best interest of the teacher? Is this the best interest? Is this what the regs tell me to do? And are the regs correct? Already having that in place, the paradigms in place, really helps with that decision-making process, so that you already know your ethical codes and you already know the lens that you have to see these issues through.
Yeah, Susie makes so many great points. I have to echo them. This is not about a checklist of things. This is about a philosophy and practice and embedded practices. When we're looking at these vision statements and how it applies to mentoring, we don't look at this as a checklist. Can you do this? Can you do that? It's not skill based. It's not that. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at an approach, systematic approach to leadership. So thank you, Susie, for pointing that out. The final one is kind of the all-encompassing, really, why do we do what we do? You know, I'll go back to that inner responsibility. Am I in this position because I want to climb a ladder? Am I in this position because now I have some authority? Am I in this position because, it pays very well, this is why I'm doing it? Really, the New Deal leader is more about it's really combining the first four and saying, this is what I believe in. And because I believe in this is why I am doing what I'm doing.
So yeah, I mean, trying to see this as a mission towards social justice is a whole different way of looking at leadership. When you think about what you're doing in a school, you're really working with a community, and you're creating things that you might not see in the larger community, such as democratic processes, where people really do have a say. You can create sort of the best possible community, at least in theory, but trying to get there in terms of praxis takes a lot of guidance and takes a lot of mistakes and reflective thinking. And so we really want to see how we can make this work. One way is communicating professional awards. And we don't mean rewards in terms of finances. We mean rewards as in, why are you here as a teacher? Why are you here as an administrator? And what's the reward? What does it feel like to you? Are you helping to change society? Are you helping to make you feel like you're making a difference in these families' lives? And as a mentor, being able to say, that's the moment. Think about that moment where you really made an impact, because we don't really take enough time to pat ourselves on the back. And that's what a mentor really needs to do, is take that moment and say, you did it. Working with discussions with your mentee, participating in discourse, and helping them be assertive and logical. And that can be really hard, because a lot of times if someone points out something you're doing wrong, you immediately become defensive. Mm-hmm. And in order to be a New Deal mentor, you have to be open to conversation and critique. And it takes a lot of practice not to take it personally. Seeing stakeholders as individuals, not generalizing within groups. So you can't be like, all parents are a nightmare in this school. You really have to look like, over there, Sally's been such an advocate for us for the new gym program. And, John has really come in and helped us set up the library. Seeing people as stakeholders, not other. Helping them to advocate for themselves and making sure that they're advocating as a leader. So they're a good leader. Think of yourself that way. Go out there and actually do it. And have someone who helps you to see that. And overcoming challenges without having to take it all on yourself, without being heroic, without having to be Superman and lift that giant building, because you're never lifting it alone. Mm-hmm. You've got lots of people there, lots of hands helping you to lift that building and make sure that you can overcome those challenges. And by being able to work with a mentor, you have the ability to reflect and think back. How did I get here? How did we lift that building? Who was part of it? And be able to take ownership of it as a group, as a community.
So let me ask, why is this important? We touched on a little bit at the beginning. We firmly believe in the 5 vision statements, and really what we've designed this mentoring project to be is helping grow leaders that are ethical, that are understand how to navigate situations, understand, education as a whole, democracy, understanding, the social justice, social equity, all of those pieces, really developing by being through mentorship, supporting people in growing and being a New Deal leader that is thinking a little differently than maybe a conventional leader. But really, we feel it is very important as New Deal leaders to really advance not only the educational practice, but to influence, the world.
So I want to thank you for joining us today and hearing about the New Deal and hearing about our mentorship vision statements. If you'd like to get in contact with us, we'd love to hear from you and love to have you on our mailing list. We can go to our website. There's lots of articles and scholarship that we've done, and we'd love for you to be a part of our ongoing movement of mentors and mentees.
Thank you very much.